Right. Well, we're still waiting for a few folks, but I'm going to go ahead and let you know that this program is being offered in both English and Spanish. So we have an Spanish interpreter on the line. Name is Veronica.
Buenas tardes, bienvenidos a todos. Nada más quería informarles que esta sesión va a ser bilingüe en inglés y en español y yo voy a ser su intérprete. Y mi nombre es Verónica, mucho gusto.
Mucho gusto.
Thank you, Veronica. And Veronica is going to give us a brief interpretation announcement. And if you haven't used the interpretation function on Zoom before, this is really helpful. And we can also troubleshoot if you have any questions after she gives the instructions. Just let us know and we can try and get started.
Y bueno, yo les voy a dar unas indicaciones si ustedes aún no están familiarizados con la interpretación de Zoom o cómo activarla. Esto es un buen momento para practicarlo, si es que para aquellos que tal vez no están ahorita todavía cómodos con la herramienta. So I'm going to do these instructions first in English, then I'm going to do it in Spanish. Primero voy a dar las indicaciones en inglés y luego lo voy a hacer en español. So welcome once again. And so this session is going to be bilingual. So in order for you to be able to understand in the language that you prefer, whether it's English or Spanish, and you want to hear the comments or questions that are being given in Spanish, I recommend you all to select the language channel of your preference. In this case, might be English for you. And so that's option you're going to see on the screen. Also, if you're bilingual as well, I recommend you do it as well. Just choose the language of your preference because sometimes by me being put in a specific channel, you might not hear everything. So I still recommend you to do that if you're bilingual. So at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the option for interpretation. Right now, you don't see it because it's not active, but once it's active by the host, you'll see there's a little globe at the bottom of the screen or 3 dots. So if you're connected with a computer, you'll see that option at the bottom of your screen under a globe icon, and then you select language interpretation, and then select English, and then the button that says done. And that will put you in the channels that you chose, whether it's English or Spanish. If you're connected with a cell phone or a tablet, that option, you will find it under the word, it's the bottom of your screen as well, and the word more, or it's a circle with 3 dots. And so you click on that and it will give you the option as well. So English or Spanish, so select the language first, English or Spanish, and then done. And that will put you in the channel or your preference. Like I said, it's going to be active in a few minutes once the tool gets activated by the host. Buenas tardes, nada más voy a dar las indicaciones nuevamente en español. Si usted no está acostumbrado a usar la herramienta, en un momento les voy a explicar cómo activar su herramienta para que escuche esa reunión en español. Si usted está conectado con una computadora, la puede encontrar esa opción. Una vez que se active la herramienta, ahorita no la va a ver, pero eventualmente, ya que se active, que estemos listos para arrancar con la junta, vamos a encontrar ese globito, como un globito terráqueo en la parte baja de la pantalla que dice Language Interpretation o interpretación del lenguaje. Seleccione su opción preferida, en este caso sería el canal de español, y luego por último, un botón que dice Done o finalizar. Ahí lo pondrá en su canal de español. Ahora, si usted está conectado con una tableta o con un celular, esa opción la va a encontrar tocando la pantalla de su tableta o celular y va a encontrar abajo de la pantalla una opción que dice More o más y un circulito que tiene 3 puntitos seguidos. Ahí toca esa opción y lo pondrá en las siguientes indicaciones o pasos, que sería tocar la pantalla donde dice interpretación del lenguaje o language interpretation y seleccione la opción de español y por último un botón que dice done o finalizar, y ahí la pondrá inmediatamente en el canal de español y yo estaré ahí interpretando todo para ustedes. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. We're ready to go whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Veronica. One last note, this meeting is being recorded, so if you do not wish to have your image recorded, you please turn your camera off.
Y una última solamente indicación, esta reunión va a estar siendo grabada. Si no le gusta que usted su imagen o se grabe su pantalla, por favor solamente apague el video o cámara para que si ese es su deseo. Gracias.
I'm going to start the interpretation.
Ya vamos.
So if you can't hear,
Yes.
yes, and you choose a language down below, English or Spanish. How's everyone doing with that? Good?
Yeah, all good.
Okay. Okay, if you need anything as we continue, please feel free to write any questions in the chat. We will have a question and answer session after the main part of the presentation and again at the very end. So we will have also chance to just speak aloud. Okay, all right. Well, let's get started. It's already 2025 and it's been a tumultuous year, but we are doing it. The apprenticeship is on. We are so happy to be able to announce the opening of this program that is in its now 25th year. This is very exciting. The order of the day is we're already partway through. We did the interpretation announcement. We just wanted to welcome you all and say how happy we are to be having this program open. We're going to have, for those of you who are not familiar with the program, a general program overview about what the program is, what does it entail, what does it mean to be a mentor, what does it mean to be an apprentice, what's required of this program. We'll have a question and answer section, and then we'll do a dive into the online application called Submittable. That's the platform that ACTA uses for our applications. And this will be a really wonderful place to ask questions if you've never used that platform, if you've had trouble with it before. And at the end, we have more room for questions and also have an exciting in-person gathering in the Bay Area. So if you're in the Bay Area, we will be able to meet in person for some more apprenticeship information and a traditional arts roundtable series. So stay tuned. Okay. So what is the apprenticeship program? So what makes the apprenticeship program unique is that it's one-on-one intensive learning between a mentor artist and an apprentice. So the focus is really here, the time-tested cultural transmission that happens in that very intensive one-on-one. It is designed by the mentor and the apprentice. And that's a beautiful thing because one size doesn't fit all, and there's many different ways in which the transmission of culture is passed on. It could be through families, and it could be through in your community. It could be even outside your community. They're all varied, and we are interested in hearing all of these stories. And these programs take up to a year, but some folks really do it in 6 months. And there's a few milestones in between in which we have an orientation to begin with. Then we come out and visit you. We do a site visit, and then at the end there'll be a public presentation about your apprenticeship time together. This year is a little different. It looks like this slide is actually not correct on the English side. We'll look over to the Spanish. We missed that, sorry. The project time frame is going to be, she's going to change it right now. The project time frame is actually January 2nd, 2026 to December 31st, 2026. So this is a little different. We're opening this program later than we usually do in the year. We usually open this program in the spring, and we wrap it up right before summer. So we're trying to jump back on our schedule here. Next slide. So who can apply? one of the most important things is that both the participant, that's the mentor, and the apprentice must be based in California. They must also be authorized to work in the United States. We get a lot of questions with folks that want to study with someone, say, abroad, out in a different state. That's very exciting, and I know it's more possible now with the internet, but this is a program that supports artists in California. So that's very important to know starting off. Next slide, please.
I think I'm just going to add quickly, hi everyone, I'm Jen from ACTA. I think we missed saying that it's a $5,000 contract that would go to the mentor artist to support the one-on-one learning. Go ahead.
Yes, and we've been doing 5,000 for this is our third or fourth year before that for year 3,000. We're excited to have it. We define a mentor artist as someone who is recognized as an exemplary practitioner of a traditional art form, and that they're exemplary measured by their peers and their own community, not someone from the outside deciding whether they're exemplary or not. That's very important. A prospective apprentice is someone who demonstrates already a commitment to that art form, and that they are on their way to enhancing these already established skills, and also with a deep cultural understanding of the art form. They don't always have to have worked with that mentor artist per se. A lot of people do. Sometimes it's a mother and a daughter, or a grandfather and a grandson, or someone in your community. But we've also had this program be a nice way for enthusiastic, apprentices seeking a mentor and proposing this program as a means of studying with someone that they've had their sights set on to learn more from. This slide here that we're looking at, the mentor artist is Ferenc Tobak. He's from Hungary, and this is one of his many, many children. Actually, Ferenc was in the apprenticeship program's very first year in 2000, and was teaching one of his sons back then, and this is one of his youngest now, 24 years later, and came back in the program. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to give some examples of, well, let's see. The next slide. Sorry, one second. Yeah, so the next slide, I put a few pictures here just because I love the photos that we get to go out in the field and meet everyone as much as possible when we do this program. I'm the program manager and steward the apprenticeship program, and this is my favorite part, is getting to meet all of you. So I put a few examples here of what an apprenticeship can look like, what the genres are. There's this is a craft or visual arts and crafts apprenticeship, and this is with a Native California elder with her granddaughter in California basket weaving out of Visalia down south. This is one example of an apprenticeship. These are all from this last cycle. Another was more close to where I'm based in the San Francisco Bay Area out of Oakland. This is the mentor Madhu Diouf with his apprentice Ababakar Kouyaté in Senegalese drumming. And this is also, okay, let's see. Yes, and then the next we have a dance, in South Asian dance, mother-daughter duo in this picture here doing Kathakali dance. Intensive study. We have another example. Actually, we have Pejam here on the line. This is from 2023. Pejam Akwas with his apprentice Tiam Ferry Duni, one of our youngest apprentices. We do allow for all ages to apply. They just must demonstrate committed and skill. and dedication to the art form. Sometimes they can be really young, but we are not only for a youth-centered apprenticeship program where we are all ages, so we don't not allow youth. This is another more recent pair. And this is a unique pair that they started with a different apprentice. This is Marisela Martinez. She's a mariachi trumpet player teaching here her apprentice Lima Sawan in Los Angeles. And it was very interesting because she's leading a mariachi group, and her apprentice originally wasn't able to finish. I believe she got sick, and she was able to complete her contract and have a new apprentice. So we really do try and work and keep that transmission going. So we are a very understanding, but we want to stay in communication with you as you're in the progress. So we like to be here to listen for any concerns or anything that come up. If you're awarded this contract, you don't have to be afraid. Just let us know what's happening. Life is life, and we will work with you to make sure that the contract can be fulfilled. Next slide. So there are some things that we don't, that are not eligible to apply for this apprenticeship program. Examples of such would be like recreations of historic or village folk traditions that like reenact lifestyles from the distant past. This is not what we're looking for in this program. We're more interested in the living cultural transmission. We also are a traditional arts focused program, so contemporary studio crafts or the reproduction of antiques is not something that we will fund. We also ask that our apprenticeship participants take a year off before applying again. So anyone who was in the 2024 apprenticeship program is not eligible to apply for 2025. If you were a 2023 apprenticeship participant, you are eligible to apply. Next slide. Does anyone have any questions so far? Let's see. Are Indigenous healing practices allowed? Absolutely. I mean, I would say one of the things that I recommend to all applicants is to give us a call, give us an email, make a time. I will have office hours available. And you can also, when you go to the ACTA's website and the apprenticeship page, you can see it's a phone number. It goes directly to me, the program manager of this program, and I can answer any questions that you have about topics, and we can kind of map through it for you.
I would just add to that like I think we're looking to fund like very culturally specific practices. So I think an application that is very specific, rooted in a very specific Indigenous community rather than kind of a sort of pan-Indigenous expression would be more appropriate for the apprenticeship program. But yeah, totally call Aaliyah and chat about it.
Yeah, and that's what we would try and ascertain together, kind of where are you rooted? I have a question here from Yosmit Kwan, whose teacher moved to New York. So in that case, even having a steadfast, connection with that teacher, we would not be able to fund an apprenticeship with a teacher outside of California. I see a question. What time? Okay, Yasmit, did I answer your question, or did you want to say something?
I had another question, but you can take other people's questions first.
Okay, Alejandra Reyes.
Hello, this is Ria. I'm just curious. Thank you again for the presentation. I'm curious if when we apply for the application, is the apprentice applying on behalf of the team, or is the mentor applying on behalf
Yeah,
of the
it's
team?
a great question. A great question. We will absolutely, as we move forward, we'll get to it, but just to let you know, like, you'd be applying together.
Okay.
Yeah. Who takes the lead is really up to the two of you, but it is a joint application. Let's see. I have a question from Jojo. If your mentor is the only cultural practitioner based in California, no, let's see. If Jen, as far as I understand, if the mentor has been in the program in 2024, they are not eligible to be a mentor again. The apprentice, on the other hand, might have a way to study with a different mentor year after year. But I know for sure it's the mentor that is paid, that is contracted for this program. So it's really pertaining to the mentor that cannot be repeated year after year. What type of supplies are covered?
And
Any
it's just that they have to take the 1 year off before being eligible to apply again. So for 2026, they would, you could work with that mentor artist again. Yeah.
Yeah. You also, yes, you can, this is Pejam, you can have a repeat apprenticeship of the same pair. If you wanted to have the same student again, we have had that in the past.
When apprenticeship pairs who have been through together apply, you will see an extra question that pops up just for you, and you'll have to kind of make the case for the continuation or for the second apprenticeship and tell us, you know, what your anticipation is this time. And you know, for instance, maybe you started on a certain repertoire last time and then you're focusing on a new repertoire this time, or some kind of a continuation, but adding more context to the repeat pairing.
Yeah, it'll be a pop-up, and you have a little short answer question there in your own words that you can give us the story behind your apprenticeship and why. There was a question from Regina, what type of supplies are covered? You see the grant. We'll go over that when we do our budget at the end, so stay tuned. Hopefully we'll answer your question there. My phone number, I can put it in the chat. My phone number, it's also listed on the website. This is me, Aaliyah. And you can also text if you're more comfortable texting. I will also put my email here in the chat. So, okay. So we'll talk more about the funding and the budget when we look at the application for expenses, okay? Anyone else? Let me see if anyone have hand raised that I missed, or if so, just speak out.
Regina has a question.
Alejandra and Regina. Okay, go ahead. Alejandra.
You want to go first?
Yeah. So we're having two separate questions.
Okay.
So my question is like, because I did see that like indigenous cultural practices up there, somebody had asked that, but I missed the answer. Also, what if it's like an indigenous cultural art, kind of like if you're making drums from scratch, like from hunting the deer to treating the hide to making the actual craft of the art, does that qualify as for this grant?
So, what I would say is yes, but it's all of these things, when it's really about who is doing them and who is the mentor, who is the apprentice, and how are they related to these practices, right? Is it something that is from their family? Is it something from a community that they've been a part of? Is it, we also have a selection, you know, if you've been, you know, a craft artist, you know, like maybe a saddle maker, and that's a community of sorts of a traditional art form, of a practice, right? And it's being used in your community and has been for generations. So these are these are the types of things that you would want to be able to talk about and hold in your story. And as we go through the application overview, you'll see the questions are really there to give you a chance to tell those stories. How are you, you know, do you share the same culture as your mentor? If not, what is your connection? Right? These are the types of questions. You have a chance to really talk about that. And what does it mean for that art form to be practiced and held today by these people? Right. So this is going to be part of that story.
Okay, thank you. And then Rio has a question.
I think you kind of answered it because it sounds like it needs to be connected. Whatever the art form is, needs to be connected almost through a generational like thread, right? No matter what thread it's coming from. Because I was only asking that because I was thinking of a couple other art forms, such as the elder that I was thinking about works a lot with plants, and she is a poet, she's a writer, but I don't know if that would even qualify.
Yeah, well, it's worth having a conversation. We can do that also on we can meet. Yeah, we'll
Okay.
schedule something. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I see another hand. Yosmeet.
Hi, thank you for this info session and really excited about the opportunity. And yeah, I just wanted to make sure that my form of traditional Korean instrument called gayagum, like learning that will be, I just wanted to make sure that that fits into the indigenous traditional form. I mean, it is a traditional form of Korea, and it's all the hand down, and it's like, you know, more than a few hundred years old tradition. So I just wanted to make sure that I can apply with that.
I think we've
It
had
sounds
that expression before.
Huh?
I think we've had that expression before. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Regina.
Yes. So I don't know if you answered my other question in the chat. I don't think you did about what if they belong to two different tribes but practice the same art form, and that's I would be the mentor, but the
Mhm.
apprentice doesn't have someone who does that art form in her tribe because it's been lost. Is that something? But we both live in California. Both our tribes are from California. Is that something that's acceptable?
We have, and we've had pairs that do that have in their family different traditions.
Okay.
We've had people cross over for mentorship to other tribal cultural bearers. And again, that's where the story is in your application.
Okay.
That
Okay. Thank you.
that also speaks a lot to something we'll talk about later in the criteria, which is urgency. And that's
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on because we do have questions at the end also. So we just want to make sure we get you through the main parts of how to apply to the apprenticeship program. This was just a segue slide because I like the photo. Next picture. Next slide. Okay. Well, someone asked earlier, so the mentor, artist, and apprentice will self-select each other, right? They make a decision to apply. It's not as if an apprentice can decide, I want that mentor, and apply on their behalf. They have to, this has to be mutually understood and agreed upon when you apply, because this application is a joint application. It will come from one email address, and that'll be the submitter. That doesn't matter. It can be the mentor or the apprentice. Often we see the apprentice, in true nature of what apprenticeships are, do a little more legwork, right? They do a little more writing, they do a little more form filling on behalf of their mentor. Not always, but that's often what we see. But it does have to be joint, and you'll see why when you see the application, because there are questions specifically for the mentor to answer in the application and specifically for the apprentice. And then there are joint questions in which you'll have to talk about before you apply to create those answers. Next slide. So something the most important thing I think about in our application process is to make sure that you take a look at the web page that we have. It's on our ACTA website. You just go to apprenticeships, and we have a kind of an accordion of information that you can open up, and it's our guidelines. And one of the most critical pieces in those guidelines would be your criteria. So these are the criteria on which your application is basically reviewed by the panel later for selection or not. And these are the main criteria. The traditionality of the art form. This is kind of a vague statement and can be argued in many different directions, I'm sure, but this is where you get to make your statement about the form that you're working in. Also, one of the criteria, of course, is the quality of the mentor artist's work, right? You're going to have a chance to show the quality of the artist's work through work samples. We also want to see the demonstrated commitment and developed skill of the apprentice. And the apprentice is going to have also a chance to show their work in the application through the work samples. When others were asking earlier about the relationship between the apprentice and the mentor, the shared membership of the mentor artist and the apprentice in a cultural community. So either through family, heritage, occupation, like we were talking about, Jen put it in there, occupational, a tribe, religion, etc. Those are ways in which you can describe your shared membership. We also want to look at what is the feasibility of your proposed work plan and your timetable. So you'll have a chance to talk about what you intend to do. And you will also be asked, how many hours will you be meeting? You'll be asked, how long do you believe you'll be meeting? Will it take a year? Will it take 6 months? Or in between? And then this is listed at last, but really I feel like this piece here at the end is something I really want you to pay attention to. It's the urgency. Why now? Why this apprentice? Why this mentor? There might be reasons in which, it's the only one that I can study with. There's no one else that knows this tradition. Or, this is something that is needed in our community at this time, and why. Right? So these are all positions that if you can meet all of these criteria, like in a very authentic way, make your application very strong. Next slide, please. So again, it is a mutual application done by both the mentor and the apprentice. It will include work samples, and these work samples can be uploaded, they can be linked. There will be, you can do, depending on your your genre, it can be either craft or performing arts. You will have options to do photos, additional materials, videos, sound. So you'll have a lot of ways in which you can show your work. We've updated the application to include not only a letter of support from someone from your community who has a say in what this art form is, but also a video of support, which is going to be fun and new. And there's some guidelines in the application for that. 1 per artist is required, but you're allowed up to 2 per artist. We also have an option for support material. This could be a newspaper, this could be a review, this could be a program that you want to include of a show of some site, or some sort of article or something that you've written. There's a chance for you to do that. The contract for this is, as Jen said, $5,000. This goes to pay the mentor artist to teach the apprentice. Okay, and this program works in such a way that we're making a contract with you. ACTA's making a contract to pay the mentor artist for this cultural transmission to continue, and the artist is paid in 3 installments through the contract. It's you get half of it up front at your orientation, and then you get another installment of $1,500 when we do our site visit with you. And after you've done a public performance and turned in 3 evaluation forms that are just done online, they're very quick, then you have the final payment of $1,000. So depending on how quickly you want to get those payments, it won't all happen until minimum of 6 months. Next slide. Well, before we get into the budget, I was hoping that maybe we can do a little submittable overview of how to apply on the platform. So maybe we can try that now.
Okay, we'll
Right.
come back to this.
Jen is
Oops.
our submittable whiz. She's been training me on it. So I'm gonna let her do this overview. She knows it in and out.
So you might say, hey, where's the application? How do I find it? I'm going to quickly walk you through how to get there. There are a couple of ways. You're on our home page and you've got a handy highlight here. You can go ahead and click through or click through to the apprenticeship program page there. And then you'll see this submittable button, and that will take you over to a portal where you can see what applications are available. So right now we have the apprenticeship program in English and in Spanish to apply to. So depending on which language you would like to apply in, you can select that option, and then you will see some general information at the top. And then we're encouraging you to make sure that you read the guidelines thoroughly prior to applying, just so that you're very well informed and you have a sense of what to speak to in your narrative questions. And always remember that key criteria. Those are the points of scoring for the panel reviewers. So these are the guidelines and these sort of drop downs. So for instance, the review criteria is detailed here, and we also this year have kind of tried to, say more about what we mean by each of these criterias, which is really helpful. And feel free to reach out to Aaliyah, but make sure to read all these guidelines. And then you will see an eligibility screener. So if you're both residents of California, select yes, and you should not, you need to take 1 year off if you applied. So you would say no to that question, or if you received the program last year. And then go ahead and hit yes here. And yes, you read the guidelines, and then you will move through to the application. So you'll have to scroll back down to see the full application. So yeah, this is a handy tool. It's called Manage Collaborators. This is where you can actually, one thing to be aware of is whoever starts the application will actually have to submit the application, and that will be the point of contact who will receive any notification. So a message from us for clarification on something, or you'll receive the award notification or the decline notification. But that person can also invite a collaborator if you'd like to invite your apprenticeship pair partner to directly put their information in instead of sending it over email or something like that. Then you can click that Manage Collaborators and you can invite them to the application. So you both would have access. One thing to keep in mind is to be mindful of not working on the application at the same time, just so that there's no issues with overwriting information. So maybe just stay in conversation about that. And then, so then you'll see the application fields. We have some basic information here, basic information about the mentor. I'm gonna scroll fast. And then we have the same information for the apprentice. And then this is a general section where both the mentor and the apprentice will, kind of collaborate on responding to these general questions about the apprenticeship. So you're going to tell us about what you're planning to do. And then there's a section that the mentor artist should fill out about their own history and practice. And then the apprentice will fill out similar questions about their work. And then there's a section where you can upload work samples. Aaliyah, do you want to say anything about work samples and how that is approached with the different sort of art forms, or?
Yeah, so like I was saying before, depending, so what will happen is when you go into this application and you select what genre right here, it asks you down below, please choose a category. So when you do that, and you click on one or the other, it will kind of branch out to these different options for how you want to show yourself. I know that sometimes what we were trying to do when we made this application, so if some of you are applying again, the application is going to look slightly different because we've tried to make it more people are able to do videos now than maybe before. Before, when we had craft and materials, we've made it so that people can make a video also about their craft, or if they're a quilt maker and they want to do a video of an exhibit or something like that, that's something that they can offer also instead of just photos per se. But if you choose craft, it's really going to be photo forward like before, but there are options for you to add a video sample. For performing arts, as you would expect, it's going to be video forward because we have that ability. It'll be audio or video. But you also will be able to upload photos if you would like to support the performing arts. Maybe it's of something that includes the audience or the community. This is also a really wonderful way to show your work samples in community where it's not just the product. We also love to see the process. It speaks a lot to how you're practicing and how you are steeped in your community when you're doing so.
Yeah. So, and this is the first, we've made some adjustments to make it easier and more dynamic. We'll accept your feedback if you have any trouble with it this year. So if you chose sort of a photo forward approach, say you're a basket weaver, you're going to upload an image. I think you might not be able to see it, but when you choose a file, let's see if this works. So if you choose a file, you will be asked to fill out a little bit of metadata, name, date, dimensions, and if that's not relevant, don't worry about it. Title, any contextual information about each of those images. And then further down, you'll have an option to either upload or link a video if you would like to share a video. There's also a section for supplemental materials. So this is just extras, anything else that you'd like to share, newspaper articles, brochures, flyers. You can select up to 2 files to attach here. And then tell us a little bit about how the work samples relate. And then this is where you can upload what historically was a letter of support. So it can still be a letter of support, but we also wanted to give you an option to collect a statement of support from a community member if that's easier for someone to just send a little couple-minute video, and vouch for you over a little clip on their phone and send that. If that's easier for them to do, then you can just upload that video file. So you can upload a PDF, a regular letter, or you can do a video file from someone. And this is meant to be a statement that can vouch for you and kind of add context to your commitment to the forum and the cultural community. One is required for each artist, but you can do up to 2 for each artist. And then the same process for the apprentice. And then you have the budget form, which we can look at closer, but just a few quick notes that this form actually like tallies up some things for you. So like you might say, I need thread, and you might spend big on thread. You might spend $100 on thread. And then that's going to show at the bottom here, but you also want to include any travel, and the mileage actually is automatically calculated depending on the miles that you put in here. And then you'll want to include the mentor artist fee. And, you know, there's no specific number, but we kind of encourage you to, you know, put at least over half of the funds toward the mentor artist teaching fee. But it's really up to you all to kind of figure out what makes the most sense. Yeah. So I'll go back to the slide deck now.
Thank you, Jen. Also, just quick note about the work samples. When Jen was showing you that all the different lines there, when you open up to either a link or upload, however you choose, there's going to be a section of metadata. Just a quick cheat. There's no word limits on metadata. So if you really need to explain something, you go ahead and do it in there. But it's preferred if you make sure you don't leave any of those blank. We really need to know what's going on in the work samples to better understand, you know, why it's important and what are you trying to show us. Also, there's instructions in there, but in any case, if it's a large group performance, please try and give us a sense of where you are in that work sample, or where is your mentor. You know, we can't always trust that we will know who's in the video. So making sure that it's very clear is very helpful. So it's September 3rd. You have until October 15th to apply. That's almost midnight. Please, if you have any questions, you start working on the application after some time, please pick up the phone and give me a call if you have questions. Email me if you want to discuss something that came up for you in a question per se, or if you're having any technical difficulties. Submittable takes about 24 hours. They do have a helpline, but sometimes they won't be able to help you, especially if you're waiting for the last minute. They're not going to be able to get back to you, and I probably won't on the last day. But if you know, start ahead of time and try and get all of your technical kinks worked out, then we can definitely help troubleshoot. I've learned a lot about Submittable over this last couple of years, and I'm getting pretty good at being able to help people through instead of having to go to a Submittable hotline. So please don't hesitate.
And just a few recommendations to always like save your draft. It should typically auto save, but just anytime you add anything significant, I think go ahead and hit save draft. Some people prefer to like write it elsewhere and then copy paste. It's up to you.
Yeah, and there is a new feature in which you know, ACTA team is able to see your draft application. So, you know, if we hopped on a phone call, I would be able to kind of follow with you where you are in your application. It makes it a lot easier to be able to help. Questions? I think it's. Oh, do you want to go over the budget before we do questions, Jen? Or are we good? Did anyone have any questions about the budget and how that table works? We tried to make it as easy as possible that it calculates for you. You just have to make the total 5,000. So you kind of have to fudge things here and there. So after you apply, so after October 15th, got that date down, what will happen is ACTA staff will then review all the applications for eligibility. This is mainly about residency, or if you applied before, if and we will reach back out to you if we have questions about the application. In most instances, unless we're completely flooded with applications, we'll do our best to reach out if we have any questions. Then we have a panel review of these applications. Our panel review has historically been made up of a handful of people from many different fields. And what we do is, as we receive the applications, we do our best to kind of look at the pool of applicants, and then reach out to our colleagues. They may be past participants, culture bearers, artists. They may be folklorists. They may be in other, fields, artists, professors. So we really try and keep a very well-balanced, diverse group of panel to really be able to speak to the application as most authentically as possible. But we can't have an expert in everything. So this is where it falls on the applicant to kind of, back when we were in school, remember, we'd have to explain what we're talking about. We can't assume people know what it is that we are talking about. So there's a little bit of that education piece in there so that your answers will be kind of set into a context in which, and someone who maybe doesn't know about a very specific genre and art form in a very specific cultural community, that they'll be able to learn from your application and be able to understand what you're talking about in the context of your answers, to better assess the application itself. After the panel is reviewed and recommendations for funding have been made, it will go to the ACTA's board of directors for approval, after which then applicants will be notified if they have been awarded this contract. Those notifications we're expecting to go out in late winter, so kind of around the holidays. It'll be after December 15th before we're able to let people know. We give our panel a long review so that they can really sink their teeth into your applications. So just a general overview, this is a $5,000 contract. The application is due October 15th. This is for one-on-one intensive study. The cycle of activities will be for January 2nd, 2026. Oh my gosh, our dates are all over the place. It's for next year, y'all. It's January 2nd, 2026 to December 31st, 2026. We are, again, the applications like Jen showed are in English and Spanish. We also have hard copies if people want to or need to, or if you know anyone who's not tech savvy that would feel more comfortable. It's not easy for us, but we understand that it's helpful to some folks. I have one that I'm making right now for an elder out in Northern California who requested a paper copy, so that's also an option. We also have this site in Spanish. Okay. Here again is just the timeline, and these dates are all in Spanish. It's on point. It's not my first language. I don't know how I did that. And we're wrapping up. I want to honor your time. If you have any more questions, please put them in the chat. We will be having an in-person gathering for those of you who are in the San Francisco Bay Area. It'll be in the East Bay. It'll be in Berkeley. It'll be at the Thai Buddhist Temple, the Wat Mangkol. If anyone's ever been to a Sunday brunch there, you're in for a treat. We are going to have a community discussion. This is our traditional arts roundtable series, and we're going to pack on a apprenticeship info session at the end. So there'll be more abilities to ask questions. We also have some wonderful art shares lined up. We have one of our, from our apprenticeship program, we have Madhu Diouf on Senegalese drumming and Diamanakura coming to perform. And we have a bomba group led by Julia Cepeda. The Thai Cultural Council will be dancing, and we also have an African American Foodways from our Living Cultures grant coming to do some catering and give us a little talk about their art practice. So it'll be a wonderful time. We'd love to have you. Please come. It's free. Tell your friends. Saturday, September 13th. And I can stay on for a little bit if anyone has any more questions. And if you need to run, this is who we are. If you have any questions in Spanish, we're one of my our colleagues, Betty Marin. She's always available for questions in our grants, and her email is grants@actaonline.org. This is her phone number down here. Betty Marin will be able to answer questions. She has stewarded the Living Cultures grants program that we also have at ACTA. So some of you may be familiar with Betty. And feel free to reach out to her in Spanish.
Yasmin has an important question. It says, for the letter of support, is it from the third person other than the teacher who is actually teaching you?
And the third, okay.
It's the letter of support or video support should come from someone within your community of practice that is not you or the mentor artist. It should be someone who can kind of add context to your pairing.
So it should be somebody who's aware of the traditional form,
Yeah.
better, right? But maybe who knows my teacher and my, me as well.
Yeah, someone who can speak to you and position you in that practice.
Yeah.
Yes. We do sometimes get family, and in certain cases that's okay, but I've seen panels be less interested in like your mom maybe writing you a letter, right? You want to get someone a little bit further out in your circle and community.
And my last question is,
Yeah, no, that's why we're here.
yeah, I just wanted to know more about the final presentation. Like, is it like, what kind of form does it take? Like, it has to mandatory performance or?
Okay, that's a great question. Yeah, as like kind of the third, we have like pillars of this program in 3 parts. It's the first part, once you're awarded the contract, you come with the mentor and apprentice attend together a orientation. The second pillar is meeting with ACTA staff, where we come and visit you during a lesson, or just to come and talk to you. We really want to see what you've been working on. There's no it's about the process. It's not there doesn't need to be any finished product by any means. We're just kind of there, and we do a short interview and take some photos. And then the last pillar, the third final pillar of the program, is the public presentation. This is required. We do ask that you share what you're doing with your community, right? So it's a community presentation in that way. Sometimes it's within a music school, sometimes it's within a gathering of families. It really depends on your practice. It doesn't have to be formal. In a sense, it should be free actually and open to the public. But it could be a library presentation. Some people during the pandemic and to this day do live streaming, but it can't be recorded. It needs to be live, interactive public showing. And it can take many forms. And if you have more questions about it, I'm happy to chat on the phone and give you some examples of some public showing presentations. And then there's online evaluation forms in which we will ask you some questions about the public presentation. And we have an audience survey as well that we ask you to hand out, and we receive those from your audience members that view the presentation.
There's a question from Labonnier that says, does the person giving the support letter have to be residing in California or USA?
No, I don't believe they need to be located in California. No, but they would have to be associated with your practice and with you. They cannot be just an elicited support without having a relationship. That wouldn't be very meaningful.
And Gustavo asks, so the letter of support is by one person who is advocating for both the artist and the apprentice, or is it that the artist has one letter and the apprentice has another?
From my understanding, it's that you would want a letter to support each, but I think it is it's not hurtful, and it can actually be helpful if they're aware of the pairing already. It might be it's okay, but each person, and we do not like to see the same person making a letter for each, one for the mentor and one for the apprentice, right? So they need to be different folks, but they can know both parties. There's nothing wrong with that, and that's often the case. But they are going to be writing in support of either the mentor or the apprentice. If they want to add anything to the effect of knowing them already working together, that's fine. We also offer feedback, so we can, you know, if you're not awarded the contract, we do like to give you feedback as best we can. This would be feedback that we would be letting you know from the panel, right? So ACTA staff have no part in the panel process other than facilitating it. We're not making recommendations. We are simply hosting that panel review. So we can we do take notes, and we can let you know what the panelists noted on your application. And we have about two weeks or so after notifications. This time it'll be around the new year, so we might extend it a little bit to have a little more time for folks to come back from the holidays to get some feedback.
I can just quickly respond to Yasmin's last question about can we use the funding towards the cost of the final performance? Really, the budget is about supporting the learning. It's not really set up to be like a project budget or performance budget. It's the budget, you know, a good chunk of it should be going to support the teaching artists' time. But of course, budget for what you need to learn. But yeah, I think we do encourage folks to just keep the final sharing like pretty, you know, we don't want you like spending a whole lot of money on it, you know, like it doesn't have to be anything super extravagant. It could be a workshop at your local library. It could be, you know, going, you know, doing like a Zoom event that anyone can sign up for. It can be really anything that feels manageable and is some kind of way to share out your learnings with your community.
Mm-hmm. If it helps to have examples, some examples would be, you know, if often when this program fell, where it was closing in June, in the spring, there were often a lot of school gatherings. So sometimes people would bring their program into a school, for example, of their child or of a local community. Or if there were any holidays in which that your pair shares, you know, and there's any kind of community gathering that highlight any of the arts, and you're a part of a larger show. Maybe you have a piece in that show, you know, and you just demonstrate one song. So you know, there might be a larger show that in which you can insert your learning to share with your community in that way, so that you're not kind of shouldering the burden of a production per se. Helpful. I really, we tried really hard. These application questions are on our website. If you go to the apprenticeship page and you hit guidelines, there's detailed information on everything we've covered here and more. You even have an overview of the application questions before going to the application. You'll be able to see the questions right then and there, so you can take a look at those. You'll also have everything that you need as far as work samples, letters. You'll have kind of your checklist before you start even the application. You'll be able to get a good look at what's needed just right there from the web page. And that's it. We're happy that it's open, and we're so happy that you all came, and we're really looking forward to learning about your work and what you've been doing in your communities. Thank you for being here. Bye, everyone. Thank you, Veronica, for your interpretation. Bye-bye.